Hello and welcome to my shop. A few weeks back I built this loft, and you might remember right after I built it I piled all this stuff up there to get rid of it. And if you've been watching my videos, every single video I do you see this same junk up here on top of the loft because I have not touched it. It's got to the point where it's driving me nuts. I can't stand to edit a video and see that gray tub sitting right there. So today I'm going to go up on the loft and I'm going to build. I don't keep a lot of large pieces of wood on hand, but what I'm going to build is across the back wall I'm going to put a shelf. I've got a 1x12 and it's 11 foot, 12 foot long. I'm going to put it across the back for a shelf. I've got a bunch of periodicals, different books and magazines that I'm going to put on that shelf. That'll clear them out from under my work table. And below the shelf, I'm going to put some type of a rack system. Where it's not going to be anything fancy. It's just going to probably be, I'll put some 2x4s down the wall and I'll run a 2x4 out with some type of a stop on it so I can pile wood in there and it doesn't slide off. It's going to be real simple, real down and dirty, but it's going to let me get to cleaning this up because my goal is to get that clean. I need to get it clean because I've got some big pieces of equipment that I need to get up there real soon, and I want to start getting back to putting my shop into the shape it needs to be in. With that being said, let's go up to the loft and let's get started. And you can see it's quite a mess up here. I've got a lot of longer boards over there. I do have some lights back in the back. I'll be getting those installed soon. This is the one that really bugs me. You can't really see because of these boxes here, but there are, along the back there's some longer boards, and that's what I want to build the rack system for. I'm thinking this back wall here is a great spot for a big shelf for my books. The shelf will probably be just above that doorbell transformer there, and then below there I'll put something to keep the wood from sliding out everywhere. And then I've got a couple of speakers that I'd like to get hung to get my stereo going. I don't know if I'll work on those today or not, but they've got to be taken care of too. The board that I plan to use for the shelf is exactly 10 feet long. It is 11 1/4 inches wide and it's 3/4 inches thick. My ceiling height on my loft is 4 foot 6 inches. The tallest book or periodical that I have is right at 12 inches. I'm going to come down from the ceiling 14 inches and I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch to that for the thickness of the shelf, which means I need to build my supports at 39 1/4 inches each. I've got a couple of old 2x4s here. I'm going to go ahead and use 4 supports. They'll be every 2.5 feet apart. I'm going to make them 39 1/4 inches. I'll set the shelf on top of them and then I'll build an angle brace back to the support. These supports will hopefully, I'll be able to hit some studs in the wall and anchor these in really well. So they may have to be, a little larger than 2.5 or a little less than 2.5, depending on how the studs lay out on the wall. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and get these cut, get them mounted, and then we'll start talking about making some of the angled brackets so that we can get the shelf mounted. Once the shelf is mounted, we'll come back and we'll build some type of possibly an arm out with a 2x4 with some type of a stop on the end, and we'll angle that back that we can lay wood in. I may have enough room to get 2 wood shelves up there for storage of smaller pieces of wood. I have my braces mounted to the studs in the wall, and what I want to do now is go build some braces to mount. So I can set my shelf up here and they'll go at a 45-degree angle between the shelf and this wall brace to give my shelf some stability to be able to handle the weight that I'm going to put on it. I need to cut a brace that's 10 inches from inside corner to inside corner. So what I did is I made a mark 10 inches from this inside corner to here. I lined a straight edge up against my blade and found the exact spot that that's going to pass through my mark. Then I set my fence so that I'll be able to bring my wood over, line it up with my fence, and hopefully push it through and make multiple. I need 4 of these braces. So let's see how well that works. Here are the 4 braces, and I think they turned out perfect. I've got them lined up on this side, and they line up perfect on this side. So I want to get them up to the loft now and go ahead and get them mounted. I've got my shelf mounted, very happy with it. I did kind of overshoot a tiny bit on the braces. I don't really consider that a problem. I'll just bring a flush cut saw up here and just cut this little tip off. It's only about a little less than 1/2 of an inch over, and that'll clean up really nice. But what I do want to do right now is take some shorter screws, and these are really just drywall screws. And I'm going to drive a couple in here and a couple in the back just to keep this from moving. I don't want it to shift when there's any weight on it. I don't think that it will, but I've got the screws and it's better safe than sorry. So I'm going to do that real quick. Well, I'm fairly happy with that. It's nice and sturdy. Let me just cut these little ends off and we'll start working on the lumber rack. What I think I'm going to do here for my lumber rack is I want to keep it off the floor because when it gets on the floor it just tends to pile up and continue to roll out all over the floor. So I think what I'm going to do, this is 27 inches from the loft to this point here right under the shelf. I'm going to divide that in half. So that's what, about 13.5 inches, and I'm going to center a 2x4 at that mark. It'll come out 10 inches. Then what I'll do is I'll use another 2x4 on the front. I'll let it hit the ground, and I'll have it raise up several inches, maybe 4 inches or so above the 2x4, so that it gives me something the wood can stack against the wall, and as it starts to kind of form out, it's not going to fall off the edge of it. The support in the front will give me extra support to be able to put additional weight on there, and then eventually I'll have these areas below. I can use those for storage of some boxes or some crates of some kind to maybe keep other things in that I need to put up here. So I'm going to go down right now and cut 4 10-inch 2x4s, Then I'm going to come back and figure out what I want for the front for a brace and for the top of it, and we'll get those installed. I've got my fence set exactly 10 inches from my blade, and I have 4 boards that I've prepared by squaring the ends. I've determined that I want my front supports to be 19 inches in length. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 4 boards at 19. Well, I neglected to turn the camera on, but I went ahead and made my braces up. I've got 2 more to install, I'll show you that. And basically I'm just toenailing them right into this back board. So the top part here is where I'll store lumber. I got kind of a little lip to keep it from sliding out the front, and then underneath I'll be able to store other items. My big concern was if I stored the lumber on the floor, you make a pile, it piles out, it just keeps coming farther out. This way I can kind of keep the lumber contained, and I can maybe make a couple of crates or something to slide up under here for additional storage of smalls. Let me get the last 2 braces installed. With the rack complete, I'm ready to start putting some of my lumber on it. I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I've got it full. I've got my rack pretty well loaded down. I want to show you what it did for me. This section of the loft here was literally loaded with a pile of wood. It is all on this rack. Very happy about that. I brought just a couple of my books up. I've got, oh my God, 100 books probably, maybe not that many, 75 books. I'm going to get those brought up here, get them laid across the top shelf, and I'm going to call this project done. Really happy about the space I'm going to save with this. Here's a quick shot of some of my books. It's a little dark in this cabinet. I'm hoping by getting them out, they'll be easier to get a hold of when I'm looking for something, and I'm hoping I'll use them even more when they are in front of me. In this cabinet, I have a bunch of periodicals. I go back and I reference them for projects. I'm going to get them up on the shelf, and what's going to happen is it's going to free up these 2 cabinets for other items, which will again save space down here because I can put some things away. Well, I couldn't be happier with how my shelf turned out. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. You can see up in the top right corner up there, I've got a bunch of my books on the shelf. I still need to move my periodicals up there. All of my wood is straightened up. I still have that gray tub and that red box up there, but now that I've got the shelving, they just need to be emptied. I have to take a break this evening. We have some family things to take care of. But when I get back into the shop, probably tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and break those boxes down, get them off there, and then I'm going to have a nice, clean, open area on the loft. And I can start working on some of the other loft projects that I have. I would really like to thank you for joining me in the shop tonight. I had a great time building this. I'm really, really happy to finally have space to put some of my things, which freed up space to put some of my other things. So I think this is going to be a huge, huge hit for my shop. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon. Have a great evening, everybody.